I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the podcast for October number 4. No, I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for October number 4. For many years, hostas were the number one perennial. They've been toppled in about the last decade or so as daylilies have become far more popular. With some of the rust that are spreading through the daylilies, it means that they have come and lost a little bit of favor, but they still rate as the number one perennial in people's garden, and hosta is now number 2. So let's look at some of the new varieties, tried and true. That's the way Vanhof Blokker works for 2014. These are the new ones, and since Vanhof Blokker goes and actually only wholesales, it means that they will be selling them to people and garden centers and growers in your area. So let's start with the daylily since they're number 1. There is one that came out a number of years ago that still stands up, still going in your gardens. People still like this one. And it's called Blackberries and Cream. It's probably one of the prettier ones that I think have come out in the last number of years. It's 65 centimeters tall. It has large cream lavender flowers with large dark purple eyes, and it's a mid-season and it reblooms. So I look at this one and say it looks more like a ruffled pink with the big deep purple dark eye, and it has a nice bud count as well. So one I would recommend, and one I don't have in my garden quite yet. There is another one that they've got called Diva's Choice. This one looks to me like the one I got a number of years ago called Totally Awesome. Except that this one, the frill on the edge is much heavier, and instead of being pale, it's much darker yellow. So you're looking at a heavily frilled daylily, yellow, with the violet-red flowers in the center. That green throat is still in there. So you got some nice colors in there on a 65 centimeter plant. And it reblooms, and it's hardy to zone 3. So that is another one that I would probably take a look at. Fragrant Returns is another one. Standard, looks good in the garden. Reliable, dependable, reblooming, fragrance. And the fragrance is really quite strong and sweet, which is nice. A slightly ruffled, okay, light lemon yellow. Now I actually have this one, and I do like it very much. It sits in a certain spot where it doesn't detract from the rest of the garden, but as you walk by, you can go, oh, that's nice. You know, it's sort of a surprise plant without being in your face. Sometimes it's better to have plants that are not in your face in your garden. It has a tendency to make it a surprise. Gentle Shepherd is another one. This one, think of this one as a white with a little blush of yellow in the throat, 65 centimeters. It's still lightly ruffled, and it's an early to mid-season of the daylilies. Remember, early, mid-season, and late daylilies. And, of course, there is also in each group some of the daylilies that rebloom. There is one called Heavenly Angel Ice. I like this one not because it's white, though I think it sort of blends in anywhere into a garden, no matter what color. You'll find that the flowers are 7 to 8 inches across. They're recurved. They're slightly ruffled on the edges. And the neat thing about it is that it's open. In other words, each petal you can see between what's behind. And it sort of gives that sort of fingered look. If you spread your fingers out, that's sort of the distances between the petals and you can see through it. Okay, it's not a solid white. They also have Ikebana Star. This one is one I think I would probably recommend to everybody to put into their garden. Large double cream flowers in early to mid-season, reblooming. It's got a little bit of a coral blush in it, in my opinion, and it's 50 centimeters tall. That one I really like, going, of course, on looks. Sienna Sunburst. Peachy pink flowers, gold edge, blooms in midsummer, 55 centimeters. It's got a light ruffle on the edge. Another good, standard, reliable, dependable, hardy daylily for your garden. Let's sort of switch over to hostas and some new hostas for Vanhof Blokkers. Most of these have been around a little while. This is, of course, the ones that are reliable. The hosta for 2014 each comes out each year, and this is always a tried and true, reliable hosta, so that everyone will have success. This one's been around quite a while. It's Ibica drinking gourd. So everybody just calls it drinking gourd. It's easier. 45 centimeters high and wide. It is heavily textured. There's a reason that you like heavily textured, and I'll tell you in a second. Blue-green foliage, cup-shaped foliage. Very often, the rain will actually sit in here. And that's why it's called drinking gourd. Flowers are white. The advantage of thick foliage hostas, they're slug resistant. If you want to know if it's truly slug resistant, take a look at how thick the leaves are. The thicker the leaf, the more resistant it is to slugs. They have one called American Sweetheart. This is a thick, dark green leaves, slug resistant, with a creamy white center, a large lavender flowers, and of course hardy to zone 3, 45 centimeters. Beach Boy, like the Beach Boys. No Beach Boys music, too bad. Soft yellow center with blue-green margins. So we've got the blue-green and the soft yellow. Compact habit, slug-resistant, 40 centimeters. Okay. If you want one that's not that particularly slug-resistant, but you want something that's a little more interesting, they have one called Climax. This is a hosta. Dark green, corrugated foliage. I like corrugated foliage in my hostas. It's all that sort of seersucker puckering that I really like. Wide, soft, golden edge, white flowers. Definitely something that looks like another one, but there are many like this one, but I kind of like it. Okay? And remember, hostas are all about your personal choice. Minuteman's been around quite a while. It's got white margins. It's lavender flowers. It's a sport of Francie. Dark green foliage, white edge, 45 centimeters. Doesn't thrill me. Sort of, okay, that's fine. Night Before Christmas. I have one of these. I've planted it in the wrong spot, but it still struggles and still does well. Large green leaves, creamy white centers that change to pure white by midsummer. In other words, the white center gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the season goes on. So it changes a little and changes with different seasons. So interest to the garden, because next time you walk in your garden a week or 2 weeks later, a plant looks a little different. That's good. Pilgrim's been around a little bit over a while. Gray-green leaves, creamy yellow margins, pure white, that sort of fade or mature to a pure white. Compact, 30 centimeters, hardy to zone 3. Probably I would take this one over Minuteman. Satisfaction, definitely another one of the hostas we should be putting into our garden. Vigorous, I like that. That means you can divide it a lot, people. Um, Dark green foliage surrounded by a wide, brilliant golden band, white flowers, 50 centimeters, bigger one. Okay. I like the name on this next one. Okay. This one, I want this one just because of the name. But it's also very interesting. It's called Hosta Snake Eyes. It's a medium to dark green edge, chartreuse center, and a white strip between the two layers. That's interesting. 50 centimeters, hardy to zone 3, and it's called Snake Eyes. I want one. Oh, it's going to be on my birthday list. Definitely. So there are some of the ones that you really should be looking for. New, but not too new that they are not tried and true garden perennials. Now, one of the toughest of all the garden perennials, of course, is Siberian iris. The word Siberian gives you a good idea that it's been there for a long time. And this one's called Kablooey. Double purple flowers. Fully double purple lavender flowers with an orange and white center. Okay, there it is. Fully double. Because most of them are basically, how shall I say, plain blue and lavender. Sometimes you get a white. So there you go. One of the ones that you have to have the right spot for, and I would recommend that you try, is Napophia. Now, Napophia is called Red Hot Poker, and this one's called Traffic Lights. It's a new one. 30 centimeters, traffic light, red, orange, and green. So the flowers at the top are red, and then orange, and then green. Sort of like a traffic light. The plant is very compact because most of these get very stretched when they're in flower and get very tall. 30 centimeters is all it is. Many of the others are 60 to 80 centimeters tall. So it's a little more compact. It's drought resistant and deer resistant as well. Hardy to zone 5, 30 centimeters. It does require full sun, rich, well-drained, and I do mean well-drained soil. Okay? And that is something that it does require. If you got a wet spot, here's one with a little poor drainage that I'd like to put in there. Not standing water, but, moist. Ligularia dentata twilight. Okay? I don't know if there's a common name for this one. But anyways, Ligularia. It looks like a Shasta daisy in flower, in clusters. They're more yellow than orange, but they're sort of in between. So maybe they look more like, no, the petals are too narrow to be an echinacea, and the petals don't recurve down, so they stand out. Strong stems, leathery purple-green foliage, hardy to zone 3. This is a very strong, coarse plant in the landscape. When you're planting something, there's some finer foliages, some medium, some coarse. This one is definitely in your face, coarse foliage, and plant shape is really quite neat and compact, but 50 centimeters, and of course the big yellow flowers. So there are some more great perennials for 2014 from Vanhof Blokker. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is podcast for October number 4.